Welcome back to another episode of The Keydra Show. Listen to Key. I'm Keydra, your favorite journalist. I'm so excited to talk to y'all again this week. As y'all already know, this is my favorite thing to do. Sit here and chat with y'all about current events, about what's going on in my life, and just, shoot up, as they say, We have so much to talk about. Obviously, the Super Bowl, Alicia Keys, Usher, CeeLo, Jermaine Dupri. We just have Beyonce. We just have so much to get into. But first, I'm going to do a little check-in with y'all. How are y'all doing? I take a little inhale, exhale. This week has been a week for me. Let me know in the comments how y'all doing. Just checking in, doing a little mental health check-in. I feel like this is a season that I am being broken down to be built back up. And I think that that's why I really enjoy sitting here talking to y'all, because it's such like a light in my life. I'll be 35 in June. So even that, so grateful to see 35 years, Lord willing, but 35, and I'm somewhere in between my life should be here versus it shouldn't be anywhere. It should be where God wants it to be versus my life should be here. Like we going back and forth all the time. But in this moment, I feel like I was listening to a sermon by Sarah Jakes Roberts. I love her. I'm obsessed with her. If you've been listening to me, you know that I'm going through my spiritual journey and I'm just trying to connect with God on a higher level. And one thing that she was talking about was saying how sometimes you have to be broken all the way down to be built back up. And I feel like one day I'll have the courage to really get into that with y'all. And maybe that'll be like a testimony. I'm just like not there yet because I'm navigating things in real time right now. So, but hopefully I'll have the courage to just speak freely about life, real life, without the veil. But yeah, in the sermon, she was just talking about how sometimes you have to be broken down completely so God can build you back up. And what that means to me is that sometimes you have to, all those, sometimes we'll tell ourselves, oh, if we have this, we have this, that we're good. But sometimes God has to take those things from you and say, well, who are you now? Like take away all the things that you have in your life that you think make you valid. Take those away, strip you of those things, those badges, and then see who you are raw and in front of him. So that's where I'm at right now in my life. I'm going through that stage. And another thing that she said that was really interesting was just taking everything to God. So, and if y'all watch the channel, I'm not really a religious person per se, but I'm very spiritual and I'm focused on my connection with God more so. And I do go to church occasionally I love praise and worship. The church I go to, they have a good choir. I don't go that often, y'all. I'm not going to sit here and lie to y'all. I might go 3 times a year. Last time I've been was Christmas for the Christmas service. But I do think that having a relationship with God or the universe or whatever, however you call it, is very important. So I'm not the girl that's going to sit here and read scriptures to y'all and have Bible study, but I am the girl to talk about spirituality and talk about my connection and things like that. But Sarah Jacob Roberts was talking about in the sermon how you have to bring things to God. So instead of saying, oh, wow, I really wish that I got this new job, right? Take it to God instead. Building that relationship with him and talking to him about it. And instead of just sitting there and having anxiety and worrying, because that's what I used to do. I just used to be so stressed and worried about things like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get this done? How am I going to do that done? But in the word that she was saying, it's more important to bring your troubles to him and just say, God, I need X, Y, and Z done. I don't know how I'm going to figure it out, and just talk to him about it as opposed to stressing. Because at the end of the day, regardless of what you believe, regardless of whether you believe in science, sitting here stressing like, oh my gosh, how am I going to pay this, whatever, how am I going to pay this light bill, how am I going to pay this cable bill, like, ruminating and being negative and upset, that's not going to get it paid. I'm sorry, y'all. Savage is tripping. Stop. Get down. He acting up, y'all. That's not that's not going to get it paid. So it doesn't, to sit there ruminating and constantly focusing on, oh my gosh, I can't pay this bill. Oh my gosh, I need to have a house by the time I'm 35, 40, or whatever that goal is. Sitting there, getting yourself anxious, getting yourself upset, causing more stress on the body, that's not going to make a difference. So she was just saying, taking it to him, God, whatever it is that you need. And that really resonated with me, and it's really helped me a lot. It's helped me become more focused. It's helped me become less anxious. I used to be such an anxious person. When I say used to be, I mean like last week this time. I've always been an anxious person since I was a child. I didn't realize that I always had anxiety until I was older and realized the signs. Like I would bite not sometimes my nails, but like the skin around my nails, like bad my entire life. Or like I would shake my knee. Like I could always shake like my knee when I sit in the chair. That's all anxiety. I just had it for so long and been living with it. I just let it fester up in my body to the point where I would have headaches, pounding headaches. It didn't matter how much Advil I took. It didn't matter because I was just so stressed and anxious, because essentially what that is you're trying to control the future. But you're trying to control the future. You're trying to control and manipulate what you want to happen. But all you can really do is do the work and put it down. Even if you don't believe in God, just do whatever it is that you need to do. If you want to get that degree, take the steps. And then you just have to do what that is and just go with the path. Because the gag is, what's going to happen is going to happen anyway. All you can do is move forward and put those steps in. What's going to happen is going to happen anyway. So there's no need to even stress out about it. Even though we do, that's what's reminding me to calm down and relax. What's going to happen is going to happen anyway. All I can do is be as prepared as possible, put in the work as possible, and then just let everything else flow. I think a lot of that anxiety comes from resistance, comes from trying to change outcomes. For me personally, I'm at a point where I'm just relinquishing everything to God because I can't bear all those things anymore. Those headaches are crazy. Sleepless nights. Like I just let the stress build up in my body and I'm not doing that anymore. So that's where I'm at on my spiritual journey. I'll keep y'all updated. I actually met this really cool girl a couple of months ago at an event. And when I met her, I feel like I'm very sensitive to people's energies. Not sensitive to where like people get me upset, but sensitive to where I can really feel people and their energies, and I can feel like I can read people well. And as soon as I met her, I could tell she was a spiritual person. And I remember telling her like, oh my gosh, I feel like you're like worldly, like you're of the world. And it came out wrong, but what I was really trying to say was spiritual. And I'm careful about how I phrase things. I know some people get really offended when you mention God. I really want to say I could tell like you're of God or something like that, like of a higher power. I could just feel it and I could just tell. She wasn't coming up to me and she wasn't like, have you given your life to the Lord Jesus Christ? And she wasn't like that at all. She was actually dressed crazy fly. She had designed her own coat. She just beautiful, beautiful girl. But it was just something about her spirit I could tell. Followed her on social media. Long story short, found out that she's super connected with God. And I reached out to her and I asked her like, hey, like, what do you recommend about how do I get like closer to God? And she just was like, well, I think that you need to start with the book of Romans. She's like, first get the New Living Testament version. And I think starting with the book of Romans. So that's what I've been doing. And I know the Bible and Christianity has I consider myself, first of all, a recovering Christian, because growing up, I went to church every Sunday, Sunday school, church, children's church, know the Bible from front to back, like all the books of the Bible front to back, was raised like that, went to a Christian school, went to Catholic school. But I think that when you are younger, having a relationship with God is different than when you're older, because when you're younger, your relationship with God is more focused on what you're told versus having a genuine relationship. It's more about following a set of rules. So sometimes the Bible makes me a little anxious, because I'm like, God didn't write this. It's been interpreted so many times, rewritten. It makes me a little nervous sometimes. But when I do read it, I haven't read it all the way through, obviously, but when she recommended Romans, now I have this app on my phone and it gives me a scripture every day. And the scripture that came up today was, love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. See, now I wasn't mad at that scripture. Ooh, I'm going to put where that is right up here. The book and the verse. That's not scary to me. Love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. That's beautiful. That's just about appreciating each other and having like respect. That's not crazy to me. So when I'm reading verses like that, I can really get with it. So I'm excited for this new journey. I just want to be more connected, because as I've been getting more connected with God and more grounded, my anxiety has subsided tremendously, because I'm just not stressing as much as I used to. So that's just where I'm at with things. Where are y'all at? How do y'all feel about religion, Christianity, God? Are y'all spiritual? Where are y'all on the spectrum? And if you have any advice or tips for helping with anxiety. I've also been doing tapping. If y'all Google tapping, like I've been on the TikTok with the girlies, and I've been learning about tapping and how it just like resets your central nervous system, because I guess a lot of trauma is there. And then when you're, and if you're a constant, I saw this guy, actually he was a preacher, and he was saying that a lot of us have ant syndrome, automatic negative thought syndrome. And I'm like, I have that, because I can read an email and I'm already reading it in my mind that it's negative. Like my mind just always goes to the negative. Like I just always think of the most extreme things. And that has to do with like PTSD, as I'm learning, it has to do with PTSD and just a lot of things like that. When I was really young, I lost both my parents, saw my mom get shot. So I think it's very fair to say that I have a lot of PTSD. So, and it stays in your body over time. Being a Black woman in America, in corporate America, navigating all white spaces since I've been very young. Yeah, there's a lot of trauma there. I'm sure a lot of y'all can relate to that. So with the tapping, it's more so about trying to activate your central nervous system to remind it like, hey, we're here, we're safe. So it gets out of that fight or flight mode. And it's just like tapping here, these little points under your eye, here, and then the karate chop. I'm just learning this, so I'm probably not even doing it right. But I found it really helped me. And I saw someone else doing like the butterfly where you cross, and as you're doing it, I would just say a mantra. So the mantra that I was saying was, I'm hurt from my past, but I'm never going to give up on myself. That was the mantra I was saying. I'm hurt from my past, but I'm never going to give up on myself. I'm hurt from my past, but I'm never going to give up on myself. And just, it's supposed to be a reset. And even when I do it, I get chills a little bit. I don't know, y'all. I'm just the type of girl that I am going to figure out what works to, whatever works. As long as you aren't hurting anybody, hurting yourself, that is all that matters. Pop culture, baby. There's been so much going on in the culture. Where do we even start? I want to start with Beyonce at the Super Bowl. Well, Beyonce wasn't at the Super Bowl. Well, she was at the Super Bowl, looking good with her man and her kids. Her man, them children. Did y'all see the Verizon ad that she did? The ad was so cute. Let me explain something to y'all. Beyonce is my girl. Destiny's Child was the first album I ever bought. I could listen to that whole album right now. Destiny's Child album. Writings on the Wall. I know those albums still to this day, front to back. And that was my first album I bought in grammar school. So I'm a Beyonce, I'm a stan. So let's just get that out the park. Like, what Beyonce can't do any wrong over here. I love her. So the Verizon commercial was so good, so funny, so creative. She's trying to break the internet, but you know, Verizon has this 5G, whatever they have going on, Fios. And she released that she has new music coming out, and Renaissance, and the second act of Renaissance is coming out. Y'all already know I told y'all 2023 I was depressed. And that was God was breaking me down. I was going through a lot. So the biggest mistake of my life was missing Renaissance, but it looks like I might have the opportunity to see my girl live, because she is coming out with Act 2. The album is country leaning. It is due to be released March 29th. My girl is that's how she's going to get us ready for spring and get us ready for the summer. She's going to give us something to look forward to. And, you know, she released a couple of videos, a couple of visuals. We have 2 new songs, 16 Carriages and Texas Hold'em. And I love them. I've already been a country fan. Country music is my genre of music that I love, that people wouldn't really expect me to love. But I love R&B. I love singing. And I love R&B because it's soulful. And I feel like country is soulful. I love country music. Dan and Shay, those are my boys. That song, When I Taste Tequila. I love me some Dan and Shay, y'all. So country, not Taylor Swift country. No. Not even Casey Musgraves country. But so some real soulful down. I love it. I want to hear about the trucks, their dogs. So country music people, they always are singing about their trucks, their dogs, alcohol, the woman they love, the man they love. I went to Nashville and we were on like Honky Tonk Road downtown, and I went to all of the, you know, in Nashville, they have the strip of all the music venues. And even though it was all country and very Caucasian, I loved it. And I was soaking it all up. It's just a strip of live music venues. I actually want to go back. I really, really enjoyed Nashville. I love country music and I love live music. Anything that's soulful. We went to Tootsie's. I guess that's like the most famous one. I would love to go back. And the food was bomb too. But I'm so excited about Beyonce's album. I hope my girl comes out with another tour. Savage. No. Savage is trying to get on the couch, y'all. And I don't like him to get on the couch after he's been in a litter. I like to wipe his paws first. And he just got out that litter. And now he think he wants to get on my couch. No, you got out the litter. I have to wipe your paws first. Now he just rolled his eyes at me, child. You know better. You could sit there and wait for a little while. Ooh, child, he rolled his eyes and went and laid on that rug. He's tired of me. But yes, Beyonce, the Queen Bee. What did y'all think about the Super Bowl? I don't care nothing about that game. Usher, one of the best Super Bowl performances I have ever seen in my life. My man said, yeah. Usher, you did that, baby. That, you did it. He gave us a medley of classics. I actually went to go watch it at this bar in Harlem. And, you know, I love us. But, you know, we just get so excited. And you know, we be drinking. And we just so excited. They sang every Usher song. And, you know, they only do a snippet. And sometimes they was singing the wrong parts. So I really didn't get to hear it. I need to go back and hear it again. But obviously I got to see it. And my boy was killing it with those moves. He is just, wow, phenomenal. My man was dancing up and down that stage. Alicia is beautiful. I love Alicia Keys. She's beautiful. So beautiful. My girl was playing the piano. That red cape that she had on was crazy. But her voice cracked a little bit in the beginning. I'm not mad at it because we all know Alicia could sing. She was probably nervous. Somebody said on the internet it was karma because, you know, they're saying that she stole that lady husband. She said that she didn't. Mashonda said that she didn't. Swizz Beatz said that she didn't. But, you know, someone said that was a little bit of karma. But everyone knows Alicia can sing. She's a class act. She's a talent. Like, it was just a moment and people being petty on the internet. But they gave us a great, great show. CeeLo, I mean, why do I keep... Jermaine Dupri, did y'all see his little socks? I thought that was CeeLo. I was funny because I was talking to my little cousin, text me. He was like, did you see Jermaine? And I said, no, how did I miss JD? And then he sent me the video. I'm like, I thought that was CeeLo. And then I was on Twitter. Everyone thought that was CeeLo. That was hilarious. That was bringing out Lil Jon. It was really giving Atlanta. They were representing. It was a beautiful show. Usher looked good. He sounds good. And apparently he got married right before the show. Very smart lady. Snatching up Usher. Because Usher's going to be fine forever and talented forever. But folks were like, when he was grabbing up on Alicia. How y'all feel about that? Do y'all think that that was inappropriate? I didn't mind it. I'm like, it's a performance. It's a Super Bowl. They have to, you know. I didn't mind it. I was like, whatever. It's giving us something to talk about. We're tweeting about it. It's making them go even more viral. Alicia loves Swizz Beatz. That means Usher just got married. Like, I wasn't even tripping off of that. But, you know, Usher is a little bit of a flirt. And he's been getting every woman in trouble at that residency. And now he took it to the Super Bowl stage and tried to get Alicia in trouble. But Swizz, he released a little tweet and was like, I ain't worried about that. Y'all worried about, he said, y'all worried about the wrong thing. I don't know if he was talking about, I don't know if he was talking about her voice cracking in the beginning, and then if you see the Super Bowl, they fixed it. Now it's kind of hard to find her voice cracking in the beginning when she was singing. Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby, some people want. Classic. She killed it, though. She killed it. The rest of the performance was flawless. Then they said, my boo. Bravo, bravo. Encore. I was sad when it was over, actually. I wanted more. 8 minutes wasn't enough. They should have gave us 10. Maybe next time. Maybe next time. What's next? What's next on the docket, y'all? Tabitha Brown. She just did an interview on The Breakfast Club. Let me make sure that interview was recent. About 2 weeks ago now. And y'all know Tabitha Brown, the beautiful black lady that be on the internet talking about veganism. And she has a cute husband. And I just love her. I love her story. For all y'all don't know, my girl is from North Carolina. I'm pretty sure it's North Carolina. And her story is just so amazing. She was like sick for a while. And then she found that veganism helped her not be sick. And she always wanted to be an actor. But obviously living in North Carolina, there are a lot of opportunities. So she moved with her family to LA. And her husband was supporting her. And he was a NYPD officer. He was LAPD. And she she started driving Uber because she was like, ooh, what if I be discovered? And then she said God told her to start doing videos. So she started doing videos on Instagram and nobody was watching. And one day she went and had a sandwich and at Whole Foods because she was doing videos about, you know, good vegan options. And the video went viral and then Whole Foods wanted to work with her. And it was just such a beautiful turn of events. And ever since then, she has just been killing it. Killing it. She's won an Emmy. She has a children's show. And she just did an interview with The Breakfast Club talking about code switching. She has this hoodie that says like freedom over code switching. And she was just talking about how, you know, she grew up watching her mom code switch. As many of us grew up watching our parents code switch. They pick up that phone and it goes from, I told you to have a seat, and to, hello. And that's, a professional voice, but slash, you're changing it, especially if you're speaking to like a white person, because our personalities can be intimidating to them. So we've been taught, and it's been conditioned in us from our ancestors to act a certain way in front of them. And it's just been something that's trickled down from generation to generation. And I think this is such a perfect example, because people are always like, slavery was so long ago. Why do you guys keep talking about it? Let it go. And it's just like, okay, but just my point is that the effects of slavery still impact us today. Segregation, everything that Black Americans had to experience here, and that other Black people that aren't from here had to experience on the back end as like a tax of just being here in this country, have to experience racism, unfortunately. And code switching and a lot of those feelings from our ancestors have been passed down to us. And code switching is another example. That is something that we all do automatically, and we don't even necessarily, we might know why, but it's just something that's just so automatic for us to do. And I love that she just was saying that when she was acting, she felt like she had to conform. She wears this beautiful afro. She felt like she had to straighten her hair in order to get these auditions when she was in LA. And essentially, when you continuously do that, especially your whole entire life, you end up hating yourself. And that's how I felt a couple of years ago. Maybe in like 2019, I wrote a story about why I stopped code switching. And obviously, since I wrote the story, I have code switched. Not intentionally, but because it's just ingrained in me and I'm just so conditioned to do it. But what I can say is the punishment for not code switching is crazy. And I have felt most recently, I have felt the punishment that you receive when you don't code switch. And it's just like, wow, now I always understood why we did it, but it's like, I don't know that the punishment was so blatant in my face. And I'm really in real time feeling the punishment of when you stop code switching, when you stop trying to contort yourself into who you think you should be to accommodate white people and to make them feel comfortable. And how, as Black people and people of color in general, how we're just taught to just tone down ourselves. And it does make you, if you aren't really strong mentally, it can really, really damage your self-esteem, especially when you're doing it from a young age, because those are your formative years. So if you're changing yourself, that's why when I have children, I would never put them in an all white environment. Like I don't have kids yet, but now Savage, we talked about this. Get down, please. Thank you. I'm a gentle parent, y'all. So when I do have children, that's going to be something that I will not fold on. I'm going to try really hard, and y'all hold me accountable to this. I would never put my kid in an all-white environment, because I never want them to feel like they can't be their authentic self, especially during those fundamental years. I had to do that. I know it messed me up. I had friends who were forced to do it too, and we're all kind of going through something similar. It really just puts a damper on your self-esteem, and it kind of makes you resent where you come from and where in your culture. And it's not just a Black thing. Even I've seen Asian people talk about this, about how they were afraid to like bring their Asian lunch to school, like whether they Chinese, they didn't want to bring, their authentic Chinese food to school, or Vietnamese or Korean, because of the way it smelled. And, to little white kids who are bringing bologna sandwiches, they looking at you crazy for bringing that kimchi and rice and whatever else you have in that lunch pail. You know what I mean? So just that, it's just such a detriment, because it's like, your little whack bologna sandwich, and you like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how dare you try to make somebody, and it's not the kid's fault because they're taught this by their parent, but how dare we try to make someone else feel bad about their food because it's different? It just, I can go on and on and on and on about this, but I love that Tabitha is speaking out about this, about not code switching. And she's saying that on the other side of code switching, there's freedom. And when you are your authentic self, I think if you look at people who can work for themselves, or even people in Hollywood, when you're your authentic self, people are more drawn towards you. And that's just true. We don't have to conform. It's always important to be polite and be professional, but to change who you are for a group of people, and the gag is they're not going to accept you anyway. They're not. And we don't have to code switch as hard as our ancestors had to for survival. We just don't have to. So I love that she's speaking on that. She used to cover up her accent. I've worked for people. I've had bosses who have said to me, oh, I like when your hair is in a slick back bun over braids. I've had bosses correct my accent or my diction. I might not have an accent to you guys, or maybe I do, I don't know. Because I don't hear it anymore. But in New York, being from Buffalo, New York, and living in New York City, New Yorkers always tell me that I have an accent, and that I have a kind of like a little Southern accent to them, because in Buffalo, Great Migration, the Black people in Buffalo are from the South. If you ask Black people in Buffalo, oh, where are you from? North Carolina, Alabama. My grandparents are they raised me, Alabama, North Carolina. So I guess to New York City folks, I have a little bit of like a little Southern accent to them. But then when I go back to Buffalo, people are like, oh, you sound like you from New York. So you're from the city. So I guess I have a little bit of an accent. I don't know. I don't hear it. But at the end of the day, why do we have to cover up those things to conform, especially at work? And think about that. If you're doing that, we work 40 hours a week, 5 days a week. When are you yourself? When do you really get to dig into all the juiciness that you have to offer? So yeah, I'm with Tabitha on that. I'm going to continue no more code switching. It is hard. There are consequences, but I think there's consequences either way. When you do code switch, you're even more exhausted. You lose your sense of self and you lose your authenticity. When you don't get code switch, you're punished by the powers that be for not conforming. So it just depends on what you value. And I value freedom and being myself. I only get to do this thing called life one time. So I really want to see how far I can stretch myself and who I really am in all situations. Speaking of, well, I'm trying to figure out a segue, but there's no right way to segue into this topic, which is a little bit dark. The first parent was charged in a school shooting. In Michigan, a jury convicted a school shooter mother of involuntary manslaughter after her son shot and murdered 4 students in 2021, making her the first parent in the U.S. to be held responsible for a child carrying out a mass school attack. Ooh, the mom is young. She's only 45 years old. People on the internet were like, this is a slippery slope. People have been saying that charging a parent after their child has carried out a school shooting is a slippery slope. I think that it is one way to stop this from happening, apparently, because we're never going to get rid of guns completely in this country. That's just what it is, right? But I do think that parents should be held responsible to some extent when these kids are out here committing these shootings and these heinous crimes and making it awful and terrifying for kids to go to school because they're worried about school shooters. And it's not fair. And children, high school, college, should not have to experience this. and someone needs to be held responsible. And a lot of times parents are in denial. A lot of people have children just to have children, and I think that people forget that babies grow up to be adults, and babies grow up to become toddlers and adolescents and teenagers and young adults, and they have no interest in raising them. They just want to have them. And in this case particularly, the boy was crying for help. He was asking his parents for help. He was telling his parents, he wrote in his diary about how that he had disturbing thoughts. The world is dead. My life is useless. He literally drew a picture of what he was going to do. And it says, help me. And his parents were like, they just didn't take it seriously. His parents were like, oh, that's just him being him. And they just did not take him seriously. And they neglected his cries for help. He said, I have zero help for my mental problems, and it's causing me to shoot up the school. Prosecutors introduced evidence that Ethan Crumbley, that's the student, texted his mother in spring of 2021 about demons, throwing bowls, and other hallucinations. But she told the jury that it was just Ethan messing around. In this case, I definitely think that the mother, the parents in general, need to be charged. I think it's the only way that parents are going to get help for their kids if they see them struggling in this way. If you see someone that's struggling and calling out for help, and you know that they're, especially if you know that they're violent, it is our responsibility in this sense of, what do they say on the New York subway? If you see something, say something. It's not snitching. And I understand it's your loved one, but if you know your loved one is going to be a danger to somebody else, why wouldn't you want to get them the help that they need? It just makes sense. So at the end of the day, this woman, she was charged with involuntary manslaughter, and the maximum term is 15 years. There were 4 children, and I think a teacher was shot. So she could get a maximum of 60 years if the judge agrees. And the son, he hasn't been sentenced yet. He'll be sentenced in like the spring, or his trial will continue in the spring, and she'll be sentenced in the spring. But I don't see any other way to force parents to take responsibility and to take action for what their children are doing besides charging them. Because she knew that her son had issues, and she blatantly ignored it. The father too. This article, I got this from AP News. It's not really mentioning much about the dad. She kind of blamed the dad because I guess the dad had just bought the gun a few days before. And the son had seen the dad with the gun, and that's how I guess he learned how to use it. I don't know. Very sad case. But if this is what we need to do to get these shooters, these terrorists, because that's what they are. They're terrorists. They're domestic terrorists. And at this point, a lot of these stories and why they're doing it, they all sound the same. It's becoming redundant. What do you guys think? Do you think that that's too harsh? Do you think that parents should be charged for their children's crimes when they're shooting up schools? Or do you think that this is taking things a bit too far, and the parents, there's no way for them to know? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Another episode of The Keydra Show. Listen to Key. I'm your host, Keydra, aka your favorite journalist. Please, if you have not, like and subscribe. Like this video and subscribe to this channel. I sincerely appreciate y'all, and I want to continue to bring you guys really good news and information. I love you guys, and thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will talk to you again next week. Peace.